It's the Jeff and Big Joe Show on FM 107.5 and 1070 The Fan.
Welcome to the 2019 NFL Combine. It's been here since 1987 in Indianapolis. It gets bigger and bigger. And Joe, I don't know how they do these things. First of all, thanks to the NFL for taking good care of us. But you get your steps in today between the time you pick up your credentials, where you got to go next, by the time you get over here. I feel like I've got a good workout in already, which is fine with me.
Golly, who's the coach? Used to be with Tennessee. Just saw him today. Big guy.
Munchak?
It wasn't Munch.
Head coach? Who was it?
Yeah, he was a head coach.
Because big guy in the NFL narrows it down substantially.
Former offensive lineman. I think he was Munchak's. I think he was with Houston with Munchak. But I just saw him walking through the hall, and I heard him. Expletives galore. You come down into the convention center right now, there's like 3 or 4 different. One of them is a truck. They got some kind of truck thing going on here, too. I saw Jeff Saturday. I went by Jeff Saturday.
There's a health expo going on?
Yeah, Saturday's on stage in front of like 1,000 people giving some kind of talk, and I heard a bunch of laughing. I poked my head in. There's Saturday doing his little dog and pony show. And then, so I come down and I hear the coach with his, his incredibly colorful vernacular talking about how far that he had to walk today. But right now, I've got 3,000 steps in.
That's nice.
So a little over a mile.
Yeah, my watch says I've already burned 548 calories today.
Well, now you have to do that because I'm telling you, this is a little known fact. The greatest muffins in the world are being served.
And you would know that.
I would know that.
I'm taking his word.
I'm telling you, they do a great job here at the convention center. I can't remember who does the catering or whatever. The muffins here are spectacular.
We got to find that out.
They got like a double chocolate chunk muffin, and there weren't any today. It was cinnamon and blueberry. The blueberry are spectacular.
Matt Taylor is here joining us, the voice of the Colts today. Do you see his face light up as he's talking about this?
He talks about pancakes, both on your plate and offensive line play, and muffins, Big Joe.
I love the Combine.
What was your biggest takeaway of the Combine? Well, Chris Ballard said this, Frank Reich said that, and the double chocolate muffin.
But I'm glad you're here because did you see the change in facial expression as he was talking about that?
Listen, you're late to the party, Jeff. I've worked for this guy for 10 years.
No, I'm still I've been working with him now for about 6 years.
Have you seen this guy eat leftovers at the MS refrigerator? Like, there's like a 3-week leftover enchilada, and Joe's just mashing it.
You know how that sign says, "Hey, we will clean this up every Thursday at noon."
That's what Joe comes every other Thursday.
Joe once drank a whole gallon of orange juice that was a week expired. Joe?
No.
Again,
at least it wasn't milk.
You got how long do you have after the expiration?
Expiration dates are what?
For fluid.
All they are.
It's just a suggestion.
It's
within
a
reason.
suggestion
to save them
when
legally.
something might be wrong.
Yes.
As long as milk's not chunky, you're okay.
Yeah.
You can always add chocolate to that.
You want to talk to this guy?
Well, but stay around.
No,
Talk, man.
No.
We got another headset.
All right. We got 4 here.
Okay.
John, come around this side.
JC is here.
John Clayton is in the house. I just ran into him upstairs, and he's probably been here for a week. He's probably got 8 stories filed already, and another 8 ready to go tomorrow, man. You just missed.
I didn't get it until 3 in the morning last night. I am exhausted. No sleep.
Yeah, you said you had quite the delay in the Seattle Airport SeaTac, right?
Oh yeah. I was actually in Denver.
Okay.
And it was a flight that originated here in Indianapolis, and it was 12 hours late the day before. And now here it comes. Finally landed at like 10 o'clock Denver time. Got me here at 3.
Man. Don't you love coming west to east, John? Isn't it the best?
No, it's not bad. I mean, hey, it's good to be here though. I love it. It's like this is now what 30. No, let me think now. 20, 30 years because 1990 was my first Combine.
So Matt Taylor can confirm this. John talks about the Combine and facial expressions a lot like Joe talks about the cupcakes.
Priorities, man.
Priorities. The muffin.
What's that?
Honest to goodness, the muffins here.
The muffin?
They got the cinnamon.
Yeah.
The cinnamon and pecan muffins that are up there right now.
I am so surprised you're talking food. This is kind of a first, right?
I'm surprised you didn't know.
So you've got the voice of the Colts here. If you wanted to ask a representative of the Colts, what are the things they're working on? What would you ask?
We got the first game together on the sidelines next year. In the preseason?
I can hook that up, man.
Okay, yeah.
I can hook that up. I'll tell you what, I mean, I love Seattle, but I don't like going there for a preseason game. No offense.
No, I know.
No
it's
offense.
a long trip. It's a long trip.
Long trip to play a
Did that
preseason
last
I mean, Andrew Luck still was kind of getting his arm in shape at that time.
Long way to go.
It is.
So, it was
How surprised were you at the season he had?
I'm not.
Not at all.
Not at all. No, because what I used the metric that I used with Seattle, because I thought that Seattle would win 9 or 10 games because the combination would be, okay, you have a top 7 quarterback. Both teams have that. You have the ability to run the ball, maybe not as well as Seattle, but they can run the ball. And I thought defensively they're going to get better. And so I thought with that could be at least 8. Because remember, Andrew Luck, when he's healthy, has never had a losing season. And so I kind of put that into factor. And then as the season went on, he kept getting better and better and better.
John, when you look at the Colts, everybody's talking about the cap space and the free agency and 9 draft picks that could turn into 11 like they did last year. How do you think the Colts should approach this offseason, balancing getting better through the draft, but also they're kind of close now after what they did last year and kind of going forward in free agency?
Don't overspend in free agency. That'd be the biggest mistake. Don't do what the Jets do. Because, again, you have $107 million. Okay, so the problem is, are you going to pay for a bad crop of free agents? I mean, you think about this because, Chris Ballard's very good about this. He doesn't overpay for things. So, like, for example, you figure that maybe they're going to be in for one of the wide receivers. Now, do they go $12 million on Tyrell Williams, or do they go $10.2 on Golden Tate, who's 31 years old? My guess is they go for Adrian Humphreys, who's probably going to come in a little bit cheaper, and he's going to be a little bit younger. And so I think that's where it's going to be. And, again, he's probably going to make $7 or $8 million a year. So I think that's going to be the approach that they take. And then obviously Chris likes to build through the draft. And so having the 9 draft choices, having the 2 second-round picks, I think that sets things up. And then strategically hit things in free agency. Because you look at like what the Jets did last year. They got Trumaine Johnson. That was a bust. They've already cut Spencer Long. They cut Terrell Pryor and all that stuff. It's not a good class of free agents this year. It wasn't a good class last year. So don't overspend. Just be smart.
So I'm a big Chris Ballard fan. I'm all in on Chris. Whatever he decides right now until further notice, I'm signing off on. But I will ask this question, and I think it's a fair question. When you look at the firepower that the powers that be have right now, New Orleans, they got 2 great running backs. They got a top-shelf wide receiver. You've got Kansas City that's got talent coming out their ears all over the place. And we saw the disparity in that playoff game. I know that Le'Veon Bell's out there and probably doesn't make a lot of sense for the Colts. I know that Antonio Brown's out there, but I'm thinking with a T.Y. Hilton and Andrew Luck in his prime years right now, is there enough firepower for the Colts to compete in the next 2-3 years with those big explosive offenses?
With the money that they have available, I think it's the other teams in the division that have to play catch up. Like, for example, if you're Houston, you're probably better served to get Le'Veon Bell at running back than Lamar Miller, because you realize is that you're not going to be able to match what the Colts can do in free agency or in the draft and all that stuff, and you need to catch up to them. And so even though they won 11 games last year and won the division, I think it's a matter now you have to see the Colts now take the switch and just make the right moves. But again, don't overspend. That can be the big mistake.
Jacksonville still in the same position? They need a quarterback?
Yeah.
And that's pretty much
they'll
it?
get Nick Foles.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then are they done, though? Are they done with Nick Foles?
What's that? No, because they have to first find out if Nick's going to get franchised,
right? Because
you figure it's going to be one of 2 ways: they'll franchise him and trade him for a 3, or let him go, and then they'll get a 3rd-round compensatory next year. And so, I'm sure it can be a wink-wink type of thing where they'll come back and they'll say, okay, Jacksonville, would you be willing to take the franchise tag and just give us a 3rd-round pick, and then they can work it out that way.
You say 3rd round, and I just shake my head, but And I guess because I'm the seller, but I got Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett's more than a 3rd-round pick. He's worth more than a 3rd-round pick. What do you do if you're Chris, and that's all that's out there?
You got to keep him. I mean, because, again, where's he going to go? I mean, when you start to look at the landscape, I mean, you got more free agents that can fill in. I mean, Ryan Tannehill's going to probably be cut. Does he go to Washington? You got Teddy Bridgewater. And so there's more than what you can have, and so there's not going to be much of a market for Brissett. I mean, some people think that maybe he'll go to the Giants, but if the Giants keep Eli Manning, which they will, and then come back and try to draft Dwayne Haskins or another quarterback, then they're out of the market. It's just not a good market right now for dealing quarterbacks.
All right. What are you doing with, you talked about New York, their wide receiver position. You see, is that unfathomable to trade Odell Beckham Jr.?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an $18 million guy, and you're going to take a bigger cap hit than even the Steelers' $21 million on Antonio Brown. That's like, doesn't make much sense. And don't you need to keep talent, not keep getting rid of talent?
John, you talked about Antonio Brown. There's reportedly 3 or 4 teams out there that have reached out to the Steelers. That means 27, 28 haven't. What's the likelihood that he's back with the Steelers next year?
It depends on where the cutoff point is. I had to do a thing for the Washington Post because I'm a Washington Post columnist. Is that I was thinking it's going to be more in the 3rd round range, and so you got teams like San Francisco, Oakland, and Arizona. Maybe I think Green Bay's an intriguing team because maybe they're going to have to go into the 2nd round, but I think it's going to be a 3rd round pick,
right?
And they want to try to keep him out of the AFC, so they try to trade him the best they can. But maybe the best deal is going to be Green Bay.
Talking about Green Bay, yeah, I mean, that's another team. You got Aaron Rodgers, who's still got plenty of gas left in the tank. Why wouldn't they load up, as you say, to catch up and put some big-time talent around Aaron Rodgers?
Well, particularly when they have 2 first-round picks, because they can take care of 2 other pieces of their offense or defense.
Probably defense, right?
Yeah, probably defense, yeah, because that is a problem. But if they can put that together, then I think they can go ahead and do it.
John, I got this question the other day from these guys, and I thought it was an interesting question. I know what I said. I'll be interested to hear what you say. The most or one of the underrated needs for the Colts this offseason or the draft. Obviously everybody talks about pass rusher and wide receiver, but other than that, where should the Colts target?
Front 7 on defense. And I think that's where the key is going to be, just to get more pass rush, just like you mentioned, and also get more stability in the linebacking core. I think that's where it's going to be.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Yes. There you go. I'm smart.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
Sweet.
You're a Hall of Famer.
Intelligence by association. It's my favorite. It's my favorite way to think.
Yes.
I learned a long time ago. Just find a bunch of people that are smarter than you and hang out with them.
No question.
Right? That's how it works out. John Clayton joining us here on FM 107.5, 1070 The Fan. We're live from the Combine. Jeff and Big Joe and Matt Taylor's sitting in with us as well. And we've talked a lot about the Colts and the AFC South, but what are the big stories you think? There's always been a big story in the NFL in the offseason, aside from the Robert Kraft nonsense, from the on the field, player movement, things like that. What's the big story?
Well, the big story, I think, is officiating and what's going to happen. Are they going to add an 8th official? Are they going to include pass interferences and non-calls and things of that nature? And it seems like in the first 2 days of meetings with the competition committee, it's almost unlikely they're going to do that kind of a drastic change. But the non-call has created so much controversy with the New Orleans game that they have to look at different things. I mean, to me, taking the interference calls, I think, would be a big mistake. So what I think they need to do is maybe consider that 8th official, that guy in the sky.
Joe Stasiak.
Yeah. Joe, you want to do it?
Got nachos, I'm there.
What's that? Oh, yeah. What about muffins?
Blow my little whistle.
Yeah, it's like.
Hey, hold on.
Can you imagine the GoPro on Big Jar? We got 1 foot in. Other than that, I didn't see it because
here's going to be the conversation. He'll be talking to Bill Vinovich and go as he chews on a muffin.
No, you're right. These guys that watch it like we're watching at home, most of us at home, John.
Yeah.
Get frustrated because we're watching on 65-inch big screen TVs in high definition, and we see it. And we know most of the time. And then we see the first 1 or 2 replays that happen right away, and we're all at home going, yeah, his foot was in. See, there's an inch of daylight between there. Why does it take a minute and a half?
Well,
it takes longer than that.
Yeah, but you see my point.
No
we're
doubt.
at home, and within 20 seconds, we know what happened.
Yeah,
Well,
I've never understood, to take it a step further, I've never understood the tablet, why the ref is looking at the tablet.
Yeah, I know.
To Jeff's
Well, because
point.
the big thing, they don't want to have decisions out of New York. That's the big problem. Because and I think that would be the logical thing, because it'd be an Al Riveron saying, Bill Vinovich, throw the flag.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be the simple thing, but they'd rather have it live at the game. So that's why if they want to do it live at the game, they'd have to have an 8th official.
We don't care.
I know.
I don't care if the guy is in Timbuktu looking at a screen and he says, there's an inch of daylight between the shoe and the. Hey, thanks for stopping by, buddy. I appreciate it. John Clayton, you'll be on with John later on today too, right? JMB. All right. Look forward to talking to you then. He's already getting phone calls and breaking stories.
Busy man.
That's how that works right there.
I saw it. It said Robert Kraft.
Take it easy, Big Joe. Take it easy.
Hey, by the way, though, man, honestly, none of us kind of really know what to make of it, other than I've always said from the beginning that this is not a Robert Kraft story. This is a this is an industry that we got to shut down story. Like, to me, that's the bigger
it's so
story.
much bigger
right?
than football and Robert
Right.
Kraft.
This
There's
is
no doubt about
we,
it.
We got to, Robert Kraft gets caught up in it, and we need to educate people that when you solicit a prostitute, who knows what you're supporting back there?
Yeah, this
right?
is a social thing.
So but having said that, this is probably the most visible guy other than Jerry Jones in the National Football League, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's beyond appalling. I mean, he was there the day of the 2 playoff games outside of the Super Bowl. I mean,
they're kind of in a corner. They're going to have to come down pretty harshly on him, I think, aren't they?
I would think. I mean, somebody asked me the other day, okay, he's an owner, so what? Big deal, right? So he gets fined. What's the big deal if an owner misses games? You still play the games. You still have the GM there, the coach putting the team
Usually
together.
they don't let him come. They don't let him work day to day. I remember a long time ago. This is not the NFL.
And possibly draft picks.
Do you remember
too.
when Major League Baseball banned Marge Schott from having any association with the team whatsoever for a period of time?
They went on a winning streak.
She was special.
Central.
You know who I've worked with a lot who loved her? Rob Dibble loved that woman.
The nasty boys.
He's the one. He's the one. He said that. Look, but there is some professional sports precedent there. Is my point? Does the NFL do something like that, Joe, or they just say, "Hey, you got to step away from this job for 2 years"?
Yeah. That is a funny situation because as one of 32, and again, Roger Goodell is nothing more than the mouthpiece for the other 31 guys.
He's the spokesman, yeah.
So he has no push. He has no bearing in anything. He's just told what to do, and he does it. So
I think the other 31 love the Patriots, don't they?
Exactly. So you kind of know already that Robert's going to have a little bit of pushback here, and then I just wonder how much of that personal relationship, where the wink, nudge, nudge stuff that Robert Kraft thought that he had with Goodell before, the deflate gate and all that kind of stuff. Hey, I can't be your buddy anymore. I actually have to represent everybody. Court of public opinion would be very interesting because, as we talked about, the other 49 states are all against the New England Patriots. Anybody there in the Boston area is 100% for them. Mm-hmm. So I think they would argue, suspend them, do whatever, and that's probably enough. To me, I would want to take a step back and get out of the limelight a little bit. His ego has been built up, though, over the years and all the success they've had and everything. They've kind of built him into a Jerry Jones kind of a guy, and I think
most of those guys
have
built up big companies and have that attitude going in to begin with because they've been the big dog their entire lives.
He does not mind being in the front of this thing now. He does not mind being on camera. He's starting to crave that part of it, and that's the difference, and you're going to have to get him back and out of it a little bit, I think. But, it is so much bigger than just, what he did, and it's just another thing the NFL's going to have to sort through.
To be honest with you, once I understood the premise of the story, once I understood, the essence of what was going on, I couldn't read anymore. I couldn't stomach it.
Because the story is not, for those that are
it's
still
not
catching
about Robert Kraft.
It's not about Robert Kraft or any of the other 48 Johns that got picked up.
Right.
It's the fact that there was a group of people importing people from Asia, generally China, young women, girls. They bring them over here. They promise, hey, America's paved in gold. Right. Come on over here. It's great. They get here, and they essentially, economically, through economic terms and everything else, enslave them, make them live on the premises, cook meals in the back room, and take care of these guys. And that's the story.
Yeah.
We got to get that out of here, man. Got to get that out of here. So we'll move on because we could talk about that from a social standpoint all day long. So, Matt, at the Combine, I know you guys do a great job at Colts.com. What's the game plan for you guys over the next week?
Yeah, so at Colts.com, we're kind of taking a different approach. Big picture-wise, we're taking a different approach to the Combine this year, more from a video production standpoint. In the past, we would be here, we'd be talking to the prospects, obviously covering the press conferences, posting some of the player press conferences. But this year, we have been given, and kudos to Chris Ballard and his staff, they have given our video staff unprecedented access to the behind-the-scenes process of the offseason, the draft, the Combine. So what they're going to do here in a couple of weeks, they already went to the Senior Bowl. They've been inside these scouting meetings the last couple of weeks. These guys meet 12 hours a day for like 20 straight days in the month of February. So they were in those meetings. They had cameras on Chris Ballard on his own, watching film, watching tape, writing stuff down, kind of commenting to himself on things.
Really good close pictures of his notes.
Right? Or drafting this guy with a big circle. That's going to be on the show.
Because Chris could really throw people off, right?
So
he can have like a dummy sheet that he puts out
Trust me, everybody's playing that game. But, this week they're inside the interview room. They've got cameras inside their suite, watching guys working out here at the Combine. So it's really going to be really cool. I think it's going to be a 5-part, webisode series on Colts.com.
Cool.
I think the first episode will come out in a couple of weeks. That'll be like the Senior Bowl, version. That'll be the theme of that first show, and then it'll progressively trend towards the draft. And then the final episode will be after the draft. The phone call with the draft picks, behind the scenes look at the war room during the draft. So it's really cool. So they're getting a bunch of that video this week. And
for
beyond.
extra credit, you could probably intercut Greg Robinson highlights from Hard Knocks in there, just at inappropriate times, and just make the thing move along a little quicker,
so
right?
It's their big baby this offseason.
No, that'll be cool.
They're going to put
a
ton of time and effort into it.
How big is that department? Because that's a pretty first-class
I tell you
website, man.
It is. I mean, it's growing, too. I think we're going to hire about three or four more people for next year because that's where the demand is going because they need people that shoot video for social media, Twitter and Instagram. Then there's people that shoot for, the highlights, the TV shows, and everything else. And, you guys know that's two completely, different worlds. That's two different strategies on how you shoot and how you market and how you, post content. So, yeah, I mean, right now it's probably at 8 or 9, and it's going to get to about 12 to 15 by next fall.
I love the behind-the-scenes stuff because one of the things that Chris Ballard told it's just a simple thing like this. Chris Ballard never went to see Quentin Nelson. Sent a scout up or something like that.
I think he was at the pro day, wasn't he?
Well, maybe, but nothing that he wouldn't have been expected to be there for.
And he said during the pro day, it took a lot of my inner fortitude not to just go up to him and say, I love you, I'm going to draft you.
And that, we've all been there at one point or another, right?
But it was the first time that anybody was actually honest about the gamesmanship that goes into this.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why, having your first pick at 26, having these second-round picks, 34, 59, you might be able to package something, move up.
Yeah.
That might be interesting to see if they find the guy that they want. I know Chris likes all these draft picks.
There's 4 in the first 89, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Last year they had 9 picks. This year they have 9 picks. They turned the 9 into 11 in 2018. All 11 of those guys are still with the Colts, including Deion Kane.
And I know Chris is listening. We don't expect anything more than another Quentin Nelson, Darius Leonard. That's all we're looking for.
I mean, you talk about the gamesmanship that guys have to play. I think Chris's game is, I'm going to be completely honest with you. He doesn't, his game is to not play the game, if that makes sense.
Which is also something. Is he playing the game or isn't he playing the game? I can't figure this out.
Is he playing a game by just telling me straight up?
That's one of those things.
What is this?
Every time I talk to Chris, who I love, I feel like, I know that you know that I know what you're thinking that I know, so you're saying.
I mean,
he basically
last month, I think on your guys' airwaves on the Dan Dockett show, he basically said, "Yeah, pass rushers are top need. Whether it's free agency or the draft, we have to fix."
But
pass
everybody
rusher.
knows that. Anybody who looks at the Colts can figure that out.
Right, but how many guys just come out and tell you that, though?
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
All right. Hey, thanks for coming by, man.
My pleasure.
Stop by again next couple of days.
If I can be honest here, he's only 3 steps away.
Yeah,
that's okay.
See, the best part about the Combine, you don't have to produce. People just show up, right?
That's good. Yeah, I'll look forward to that day.
It's awesome. Yeah. Me too. I've been in your shoes, my man. I love the Combine.
It's all good. It's all good. Hey, thanks for stopping by. By the way, Chris Ballard is going to be here at 2:20 with Dan today.
Perfect.
And Frank Reich is going to be here at 3:20 with John because they're going to come over right after they have their press conferences.
Beautiful.
So
we're reminding you to get that done, please.
I will. Hey, I work for you guys.
It's Matt Conti. Yeah, Matt Conti's the guy. Matt's going to bring him over. All right.
Love you.
All right. Coming up in a second, Big Joe and I will talk about some of the things. Did you see the Butler game at all last night?
Yeah.
Oh, a little broken down on that. We'll talk about that also a little bit more from the Combine here. You never know who's going to walk by. Thanks to John Clayton for stopping by already. We had Matt Price, and goodness knows who's going to come by next. Along with Joe Stasiak, I'm Jeff Rickard, and our guy Skylar Wood is here. David Deering back at the studio. Probably 6 or 7 interns back there as well. It's all happening here on FM 107.5 and 1070, The Fan.